What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about The Last of Us Part 2's multiplayer yet again, but I want to bring in a job posting that was, kind of shown to the world. Obviously, it was shown to whoever wanted to click on it over the last several weeks, but a lot of people got a hold of it over the last couple days, and it talks about longevity, that they're hiring basically for a multiplayer, a person that would work on a multiplayer game, but that it would be a game that's going to last a very, very long time. And in my opinion, this really does point to a battle royale, in my opinion. Now, a battle royale mixed with something else. I'm sure there'll be more than just a battle royale, or at least I assume, or at least I hope. But I really think, based off of what, and we'll read out, some of the things this job, if you are lucky enough, by the way, to be hired for this job, definitely let me know. But we're gonna read out, what this person would end up doing if they are hired there, right? And I do think the hints are kind of looking like it. Now, it actually does raise some questions of like, if it is for the multiplayer for The Last of Us, it could technically be for a future multiplayer game, okay? That's definitely possible. We don't want to kind of forget. We don't want to just assume it's one thing and not a handful of other things, which it definitely could be. But if it is for The Last of Us, kind of odd you'd hire somebody with this kind of description of what they'd be doing if the game was like coming out soon. You know what I mean? So I feel like if this is for The Last of Us Part 2, we still have quite a while to go until we get that game, which sucks, but obviously, they have to take their time. So before I get too far into it, make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed. You guys have the bell icon turned on. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, we're pushing for 2,000 followers. We're getting very, very close. A lot of people have been joining recently, and I super appreciate it. So if you guys have a Twitter and you haven't followed me, I know Twitter's toxic, not this community, not the Podcast Now community. I really am so proud of the community we have over on Twitter. So Podcast Now 15, link for that's in the description below. All right, The Last of Us developer Naughty Dog is hiring for a multiplayer game that is built with longevity, job listings have revealed. A position for an economy designer multiplayer was spotted on the Naughty Dog website, which mentions that the successful candidate will ensure robust longevity for the studio's games, as well as design, implement, and tune game economy and player progression systems. The listing also notes that the candidate will create avenues for self-expression for our players, suggesting that the game will feature customization or cosmetic personalization options of some description. Robust longevity also suggests that the game will be supported over the years, potentially incorporating live service features that speak to the listing summary, which mentions the importance of providing players with great rewards to strive for. Naughty Dog is looking for candidates experienced in player psychology and narrative tone, suggesting there may be some sort of story threaded throughout the experience. Now, that's there are a lot of things going on in this job posting. Again, it's not. I want to believe The Last of Us, and it may not even be called The Last of Us Part 2, may not even be in the title. You know what I mean? It could just be called simply like Factions 2, or Factions, or literally some spin-off title of The Last of Us, and it's just a multiplayer game, okay? And that's also assuming that that this job is not talking about just some random other game. They could be making literally just a multiplayer game for their next game. Now, do I think they're doing that? No. We know there's multiple teams. There's at least two. Honestly, there seems like there's 3 teams at Naughty Dog, 2 that are, off and on again working on single-player games. Neil Druckmann obviously is the head of one of them, but he's also now vice president, so I don't even know how that works anymore. But you also have the multiplayer team that's been working on the multiplayer for The Last of Us Part 2, or again, whatever it'll be, for the last couple years, for probably 2.5 years at this point. And again, working on a multiplayer, I would assume, for that long, tells me either they have a very, very small team, or that's number one. Number 2 is they've messed up quite a bit and they've had to restart. Or number 3 is the game, whatever they're planning, is very ambitious, like for a multiplayer thing. Okay, which say what you will about Naughty Dog, and I, have no, if you want to hate Neil Druckmann, if you want to hate Naughty Dog, I have nothing against you. If you love them, I have nothing against you, okay? But say what you want about them. They are... they are bold. They really do kind of give it their all. If you hate their stuff, well, they still gave it their all. They just did a bad job. You know what I mean? So if they're doing this multiplayer thing, I would not be surprised if they put everything they got into it. They say, okay, you know what? We're doing multiplayer. Well, we could have copped out and done Factions 2 and made it just new maps, obviously newer looking stuff, and it just would have been Last of Us Part 2, but multiplayer, just like Last of Us 1 was, with Factions. But we could do Battle Royale. We could do, all of these different ideas for a multiplayer experience. I feel like that's the avenue. So they could still have like team deathmatch and free for all and stuff like that. They could still do that, but I think they also are going to have a lot more to it. Okay. Again, the narrative thing, yeah, Factions does have that narrative. Remember, you're technically like the owner of a camp. There are people there. You have to obviously have enough resources or whatever. I don't even remember what they call them. But if you don't have enough, your people will starve or they'll die or they'll get attacked by like hunters, stuff like that. So it's not like the most narrative experience in the world, but there is a narrative that's going on there. Every time you're waiting for a match, you're kind of reading what's happening in your town. And again, if this game takes it a step further, well, maybe you need to have more description, maybe you would have more detail, maybe you would actually start, and even if it's just reading, even if it's just text, you could still probably get us to actually start to like character, because let's be honest, if you see like Martha, and we'll just throw Martha because of Batman, Martha like is starving, and you just see that as the text, unless you are Batman or Superman, you won't really care. But if you start to, in this game, say, there's people and you're really learning about them through however means, whatever means they do that, and then they do get attacked or they die or they get injured, you kind of feel something, and that is, that would be again, that's like a twist on a multiplayer thing, because who really does care about these, fictional, they're literally just dots on a map in Last of Us Factions. Who really cares about them? No one. But maybe they want you to care, right? So there's definitely things they could do. So the narrative thing kind of does point me to Factions. Again, it could very well just be a brand new game that is multiplayer but has its, that has a narrative tone to it. But again, then you have the cosmetic stuff, you have player progression. The part where I don't agree with IGN when they say like the live service stuff, to me, the like making players always feel like they're rewarded, there's many ways you can do that. I think, honestly, and we're talking about Naughty Dog here, you could easily just do what Uncharted did. And I don't know if that's everybody's favorite thing or everybody's cup of tea, but one of the reasons I've always loved, besides I love Uncharted, but besides that, why I love the multiplayer is their way of giving you things consistently or making you feel like you've achieved something is amazing. You could pretty much do anything. You could literally do you could like roll through water in Uncharted and you would probably get a medal for that. You know what I mean? And that's the things that you can get in the multiplayer, you're always getting. You know what I mean? They always like pop up, they make like the gold sound, right? They make like a metal sound, like if you're hitting something against like a literally like an award. Like that's what it sounds like, right? I hope everybody knows hopefully what I'm talking about. I like that because you could really, again, you get a headshot, you get like a reward, you get a kill streak, you get a reward. There's always something that's like rewarding you and telling you like, hey, you did something moderately cool, or maybe you didn't even do something cool at all, but we're still gonna give you like this bronze medal for it, right? And I like that. So basically, my point is, even if you don't, that's totally okay if you don't. By the way, there's different ways of doing it. You don't need to do live service, and not every game needs to be live service where it's like, let's come up with new ways of keeping people into it. Yeah, you can, and that, that could definitely be an avenue they go down, but it doesn't have to be. There's many other ways of doing it. So, it is still confusing because I could easily see the argument that it's talking about just a completely different game altogether. At the same time, I mean, we know they're making, that's another thing. We know they're making a multiplayer game right now, which is The Last of Us' multiplayer. So, this being a multiplayer position, are they making The Last of Us multiplayer, but they're also doing their new game is also a multiplayer game? Kind of seems odd from them. It's not impossible, but it just seems odd, right? So we'll have to see. Hopefully it's not too far out. I do think even if it's very disconnected from The Last of Us, again, like if there's a big name change or whatever, still releasing like 2, 3, 4 years after that base game came out probably isn't smart. I'd imagine you'd want to get this thing out within the next year. I mean, it would make sense for like a year anniversary. It would make sense in the fall, stuff like that. But I would say at least like by its 2-year anniversary, you want to get that thing out. I don't really think it looks good. And again, it's not their fault, but I just don't think it looks good to have something like this released years after the base game, even if it's very disconnected from it. You know what I mean? So let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think? What kind of game do you think this is? Whether it's The Last of Us' multiplayer, whether it's a brand new game altogether, let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on. And again, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, I'm really going to push that only until we get to 2,000, and then I'll stop for a couple days or a week or so. Podcast now 15. Link for it's in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.